All right, let's turn to this now. The last meeting of the eThekwini Council for the year has ended. The ANC tabled a motion of no confidence against Deputy Mayor Philani Mavundla, who's now being unseated. The Abantu Batho Congress leader says he will approach the courts to fight his ousting from the eThekwini exco. He was removed from his position as Deputy Mayor and Chairperson of the Human Settlements and Infrastructure Committee by a majority vote from the ANC and EFF. Mavundla says, according to an agreement with the ANC that's in place currently, that this relationship needs to go on up until 2026. He cannot, therefore, be removed from the Executive Committee. Well, he joins us now to tell the truth, as he says, and put us in the picture of what is behind this. Mulasa, good evening, and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening to you and all the listeners.
Maybe let's start here. Do you regret the decision of having taken your one vote and went into a coalition with the ANC as opposed to the other opposition parties?
In fact, quite a few votes. We've got 2 votes in eThekwini, but we've got few votes in other municipalities where we've supported various political parties, not only the ANC. In Ladysmith, for instance, Alfred Duma, we supported the AFP there. In Mvoti Greytown, we supported the AFP there. Abantu, we used to be heading, we supported the ANC. In Msunduzi, we supported the ANC. That's why ANC is in power. But to answer your question, how do we feel about it? We're feeling very bad. We realize that we assisted the people that really cannot be trusted.
Those who phoned you, including, you say, the former president, the former health minister, the chief Mavundla, business people, and all those who lobbied you and said, no, do this. This is the right thing. Have you gone back to them and say, folks, look what you've got me into here?
In fact, quite frankly, it's only Nkosi Mavundla that has phoned me. Mavundla, la masela sebenza. And then another good businessman, a friend of mine in Ntombela, said to me, hey, Mavundla, zasle now until 12 at night. I didn't know bazowenza lokhu, but what can we do? So that's what has happened as it is right now.
The crux of the matter is, for me it seems, the relationship was a difficult one, maybe toasty one, between yourself and the mayor. So take us back to October and the cleanup campaign that you had hosted, and why that became such a difficult issue for the two of you to find each other.
Well, remember, during our negotiation, I do know that I managed to pull a hard one on the ANC. They were desperate. There is no political party that will have given you a deputy mayor, executive position in exco, as well as a committee of the infrastructure of a city like Durban. Durban is a 54 billion rand city. Yeah. 75% of that falls within the infrastructure. Electricity alone in eThekwini is about 17 billion rand. So basically all that fell under Mavundla. But there has been a feeling under the ANC that, you know what, we really made a mistake here. We shouldn't have given this to Mavundla. And then the new leadership in KZN, as well as eThekwini, came in, and their feeling was that we've given Mavundla too much, so we need to demand that back. Now, this has got nothing to do with non-performance or me failing to do what I'm expected to do. I think South Africans have seen what I've been doing. But the issue is that the ANC feels, yes, they do have the mayor, which is what they wanted, but quite frankly, they are not controlling the budget as they would love to do. That's where the issue is. Yeah. Hence, we are sitting where we are. In relation to the mayor with the famous WhatsApp that he sent, when that happened, he was overseas, quite frankly. As a deputy mayor in terms of our territory, I was the mayor. Yeah. And the argument was the poster that had Mavundla's face about the cleanup campaign that I was doing. I think we had a case of shifts in Durban during that weekend. Yeah. But he said to me I should have put his face. Yeah. Now, surprisingly, a man who used to be the chairperson of the very same cluster since I went back to check, since 2019, he's been putting his posters when he has his own program up until June 2022. But when it's done by myself, and then it became an issue. So that's what has happened, basically.
Yeah. Have you had this conversation? Because I look at that SMS, and it's written in Zulu, and it's saying, we are pinda food. This thing that I told you not to do. So have you had this encounter with him?
We had the discussion previously, and I said to him, if it's only me doing it and then it may be wrong, but if the others are doing it, why not me? So basically the others were doing it, so I said, why not me? And I understand where the ANC people are coming from. The feeling has been that everybody seems to know Mavundla, Mavundla is becoming famous, and so on and so on. That is where the issue is. Kind of political jealousy, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah. Did you feel you were pushing your luck with the kind of seats that you have?
That's why I wanted that power right from the word go. I wanted to use it. And that's exactly what I was doing. But I was not personally using it for APC per se. I know APC will benefit, but I was using it for Abantu Batho Congress to benefit out of it. That's a fact about it.
Yeah.
Give me power, I'll use it. I won't sleep on power. That's exactly what I did.
And do you then make submissions around this particular issue that was raised? I know you say in council you actually raised to the speaker that you didn't like the way that the mayor spoke to you. In fact, you've never been spoken to like that in your life.
Well, I reported the matter to the whip, and I said to him, you get Newzroom. So it seems as if the mayor is one that maybe can call me in a fair fight. And I don't think it's fair. Let's talk about it. Let's see if we can be civilized about the issue. And then the whip called the meeting the following day. It was very, very quick in the meeting. The mayor was, making noise about it and being himself. When he finished, and then I was given an opportunity to put my side of the story. And I said to the leadership of the ANC, I will pen it down. And I penned about 150, 160 pages document that put everything, including the poster that proved that it's not just me. And instead of reading that report, the following week they decided to come and say, you know what, can you please have our exco seat back? That is where the issue is now. That's why we're in court.
We'll get to the court issue in a moment. Do you think the fact that there was change of power in the province could have exacerbated your removal? For example, had the previous PEC returned to power under the leadership of Sihle Zikalala, do you think you would still be a deputy mayor?
If I'm to say and Sihle Zikalala is still there, yes, I'll still be a deputy mayor. Amongst other reasons is that we did the deal with them. Two, they know me very well. I've worked with Sihle for years. When Sihle was still the Youth League secretary, he came back and came to the office. We worked together under Senzo Mkono. So basically, he really understands who Mavundla is. He really understands what I'm seeking to achieve. I don't think we'll have had a problem. For instance, the very same report that I gave to the leadership, should I have given it to Mseni as well, Ntuli, as well as Sihle, they will have taken serious. That's the way the ANC does their thing. But seemingly that the people that I've given the report to, for them it was very much not being accepted and looking bad and painting them in a bad light, I feel. So basically, yes, that's how I view it.
Let's take a break. When we continue with Philani Mavundla, ousted eThekwini deputy mayor, who says, in fact, from day one, he's never really been recognized by the ANC as the deputy mayor. He'll tell us why in just a moment. Back live with you tonight, Philani Mavundla, the ousted eThekwini deputy mayor, who's handed over what he says is government property. In fact, even as he comes here, I don't think he's got the protection. Do you have a protection service?
No, I gave it back the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saying you were never recognized by the African National Congress as a deputy mayor. Why do you say that?
Well, there was an Investec breakfast show that they were hosting with the Durban Chamber of Commerce about good 5 months ago. In that meeting, the Premier of the province was Sihle. The Minister of Economic Development, Ravi Pillay, was there. And when the introduction was being done, one exco member was introduced as a representative of the mayor, since the mayor was not around.
Yeah.
Yes, yet I was in that breakfast. And the Premier turned around and said, Mavundla, what's happening here? And I said to him, that's how we do things in Durban. And when Comrade Ravi Pillay was his turn to speak, he said to everybody, hey, we know who's the mayor here. when the mayor is not here, he's a deputy mayor. And that was that.
From the tone of that WhatsApp message, it seems you were not in communication terms with the mayor, or you send him a message, he doesn't respond, or he sends you a message, you do not respond. Has that been the relationship?
I think since I've been a deputy mayor, I must have written to him about 10 letters. He never responded, not to a single one. The very first one that I sent to him, he's got it, I complained to him about the money that we spend on the Metro Police overtime. And I was not saying the people shouldn't work overtime if we have to work overtime, but my problem that I have was the abuse, that you'll have people that work up to 300 hours overtime, over and above the 160 normal time. It doesn't make sense. If you calculate, this man doesn't have time to sleep at all. And the reason I raised that, there was a request for additional 80 million. I wrote it to him nicely. I explained to him how many people we can employ to increase the number of our police force with 80 million rand. Just decided to keep quiet. We employed the city manager because I was the one who was sharing the panel that employed the city manager. I wrote about 36 points that I said to him, we need to add this to the contract of the city manager. The first one was the supply chain. That in eThekwini you'll put a tender today, it may take good 3 years to be awarded. So what was the necessity of advertising? So those are the things that I said. The city manager need, for instance, the supply chain, you need to clean it up within 3 months. That must be some of the KPI that we're giving to him. That as well decided to keep quiet, not to say anything. I complain about a lot of things on paper, not just on the message. But no, and that's why he was saying then, I want him to respond, but I don't respond to him.
75% of the budget, you say. Have you received any untoward requests putting pressure on you politically and otherwise, for example, to approve certain things on that budget?
In fact, nobody can try and talk that language with me. That's been me ever since. When I was a mayor before in Mvoti, they knew the region at some point tried to say to me, please employ that CFO. I said to them, put it on paper and send it to me. So I can send it to the AG, so I can send it to the National Treasurer and Cocta, put it on paper. And nobody was ever prepared. So there wouldn't be anyone that will put that to me. They know what will be coming.
When you came in here, you said you're not doing this for your own stomach. In fact, you're a renowned businessman. You've got your own business operations going on in KwaZulu-Natal. In essence, one would say you do not need this job. So why did you take it?
No, I do. The reality is that in politics, if you say Amandla and you say it very loud, you'll become a councillor. Whether you've standard 2 at school or you've got whatever, you'll become a councillor and you'll be in charge of us. The 54 billion rand budget of eThekwini, if you had to go and ask how many of our councillors that understand what is happening within their cluster where they are deployed to be assisting on, you'll find that they know absolutely nothing. And that is not only eThekwini, it's all the council that we have. That's why we found ourselves in a situation where if you're trying to contest somebody, you'll die, because the person you're contesting, maybe he believes you know better than him. You'll be taking, the opportunity to put food on his children's table. And if he loses as a councillor, he cannot be employed anywhere. I'm not aware of a councillor that has stepped down as a councillor, resigned, and got employed somewhere else. In actual fact, councillors and mayors don't resign. Instead, we fight to go back. Yeah. So basically, my feeling is that we now need some people with integrity that can get back in the space and try and really plow back to our people. It's important that we get to that point. Otherwise, what we're seeing at ESCOM today, quite frankly, is exactly the same situation with the municipalities. There are very, very few municipalities that have their water supply network that is fully functioning. There are very few municipalities that have their sewer network, sanitation network working, as well as their wastewater treatment works. Yeah. And that's the last thing that they look at. Yeah. And it's so dangerous because it pollutes our environment. But that is the reality.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we see a mayor going into the beach there in Mhlanga, celebrating, dancing, saying everything is good for business. 7 days later, we're getting scared to say, no, you're going to close that beach. It's not safe for people to go in there. What's happening?
I'm going to defend the mayor here.
Yeah.
I have to give credit where it's due, and I need just to tell as it, not score point on anything. The mayor did not go to Mhlanga Beach. Instead, he went into the Durban Beach, the North Beach, somewhere there, central there. That's where he was. There was absolutely nothing wrong with our seawater or with the beach there. Because if you know Durban, the problem that we have is in the Umgeni River mouth.
Yes.
The next problem that we'll have, it will be around the harbour, because you do have the river that comes into the harbour and then it pollutes. So the central part of the beach, there isn't any problem. Another problem that we've been experiencing at eThekwini is that you have independent lab that have been testing the water.
That's right.
They come with the lab test that are saying the water is okay. And then when we come as eThekwini, we do our test. And those tests are conflicting. As late as last week, that was the situation, which then we've agreed, in fact, with the Durban Chamber that let's do the testing, even if we have to do it in the morning and the afternoon. It's fine. It's only costing about 200 rand per test. Let's rather do that. But there has been conflicting test results. But what I also realized very, very late was that we're only testing every 14 days. Now, in a situation like this, one should understand that we should be testing every day.
Yeah.
Because you may test today, is not that good, tomorrow is okay, but you're losing another 12 days.
Yes.
But the business had absolutely nothing to do with me. But because the business was making noise, especially the guys who are doing the surfing business in Durban, I had a meeting. They explained to me that the city's results are not the same. Same thing with Umdloti. The business people in Umdloti have been saying to me, Mavundla, our test results are okay. But you don't want us to use the picture. I'm saying to them, but our results are not saying exactly the same.
Yeah.
Now, because we are the government, and then you'll need to listen to us instead of getting both sides checking where the issue could be. So where the mayor went to swim, quite frankly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the water at that particular point. That part of the band, there's still not much of a problem. Where we're expecting to have a problem is mainly around the Umgeni River mouth, as well as Mhlanga, because of the Umdloti pump station and so on, which all that is almost complete to be fixed.
So technically, you tried to interdict this motion.
I interdicted.
You interdicted
and
the
I've
motion.
got the interdict.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it seems on some technicality, they said you preempted your interdict before they could actually put the motion forward, and therefore they said they will go ahead with it because it was a preemptive strike, so to speak, on your part. Paraphrasing here, the justification that they put forward to go ahead with this vote.
Let me put it this way: if I know Mdluli is coming to kill me and the cock is gone, I happen to escape and go and tell the police, I don't think there's anything wrong. What happened, I had a meeting with the whip of council, who happened to be a deputy chair of eThekwini region as well as the acting chair, and the secretary of eThekwini region. We had a meeting. We discussed this, and they said to me, Mavundla, we want our exco seat back. I said to them, you don't have your exco seat. You'll get your exco seat if you win in 2026. At the moment, I'm sitting in the chair, is mine for the next 5 years. It was given to APC in terms of our agreement, the political settlement that we had. So basically, you can't have it. But they said, but we want it. We want to use it now. We don't need you in that position. And I said to them, well, what I'll do, I'll take you to court tomorrow. Let the court decide. So that's how I went to court, out of the discussion that we have. And that is how our court papers are drafted. We went to court. The city went to defend in the court. And the judge said to them, the way you want to run this, because they did mention that there's a motion coming.
Yeah.
The way you want to run this is wrong. The advice is, please don't do it unless you run the course of the law the way it's supposed to be. So they did took that advice and went and tried to run it. Now, our book said it should run for 24 hours. So I got to know about it during the day when I asked for it from the speaker. The speaker said, Mavundla, I can't give it to you. And then he was advised that, no, in actual fact, you should be calling the meeting of the whips and telling them that there's a motion that has been submitted,
right.
Which then he subsequently did that. Around after 6, we received the motion. And then when the motion came, everything that is in the motion, it's got absolutely nothing to do with Mavundla. Now, if everything was fair, and then the Speaker should have looked at it and say, are the polls falling under Mavundla? Is the pitches falling under Mavundla? Is it the fact that Mavundla has defected to Action SA? Even if he has, what does the ANC or the municipality have to do with that? I would believe that these are the facts that he should have looked at. But because it's the ANC himself and the mandate has been issued, and in fact, to find the easy expression on this, let's look at what has happened about Palapala and Parliament, that there was a party line. So basically, everybody needs to follow that. It was exactly the same with the Speaker, hence we're in court.
So many other things that we could possibly talk about, but very quick, are you defecting to Action SA?
No. What happened, this very same newsroom made an error, which we understood that as there was an interview with him in Mashaba, and Mwangu, somebody wrote Mavundla is the TV channel explained to us it was just an honest mistake, and we accepted that apology.
Right.
Now and then, when the ANC did their own motion, they added that. When Mfwethu Mwangu received that motion, he wrote same time to the Speaker to say, no, this is not true. Mavundla has got absolutely nothing to do with Action SA. The Speaker still accepted the motion instead of saying, no, this needs to be corrected. Now, these are the technicalities that we're taking to court to say, hang on, this is what it is. If you look at it as well, they're also saying there's no harmony in exco, and the exco hasn't been correcting. Now, you have 10 persons exco. You can't say it has not been correcting because Mavundla is not there. You should still have 9 people. But we'll also prove in court that there's one ANC exco member that may have attended only 60% of the exco meeting. I've attended more exco meeting than the mayor. Now, all that will go to court and say, but these are all lies. Can you put a motion that fully comply? The minute they do that, we may not have a problem with that motion. But currently, the problem I have, I'm saying there's a political settlement between APC and the ANC, and it needs to be honored until 2026. That is what we want the judge to rule on.
Philani Mavundla, appreciate your time. Thanks so much
for
coming on. The ousted eThekwini Deputy Mayor there, Philani Mavundla. And Focus continues shortly. Stay with us.